Hi, I'm Carrie Blazer, mother, shaman, and recently published author of My Inner Heroine, Exploring Feminine Pain. I'm here to continue unveiling my soul, and all the signs and synchronicities point to that my soul was the same soul as Mary Magdalene. Please subscribe and like to support me in bringing my truth, sharing my wisdom, and helping the collective heal. Today I watched the Da Vinci Code. And for those of you who know it, you know why I would watch it. And the Da Vinci Code is about the Holy Grail and what is the Holy Grail and what is the actual access point to heaven. Yesterday I made a video and I called it Self-Love Creates Heaven on Earth, not the cross. Why is that true? And how has science proven that to be true? And why was that silenced 2,000 years ago? So it's hard for me to start and come out of this because basically I'm coming out against the whole church. And how's that worked out for people over the past 2,000 years? You know, and I'm doing a lot of research about the Cathars from southern France who had a prophecy that Mary Magdalene would return in 2021. Well, my voice was silenced in my childhood from sexual trauma. And I brought my voice back on December 30th, 2020. Woman's voice is her protection, her salvation, her value, and my voice comes from my womb. I finally felt strong enough to speak from my femininity, from my womb, from creation, which is women's womb. So, in researching the Cathars, the last prophecy of the Cathars foretold that the Church of Love would rise again, not as an institution, but of a movement of the soul. And that's exactly what my book is about. I mean, I didn't know this about myself until after I wrote my book. And wow, you know, I spent my life trying to understand what is the patriarchy and how do we overcome it and how do we, and where's the truth and how do we overcome the patriarchy is by embracing women's healthy femininity. Because it's the repression of of our feminine value that allows for there to be space for the overexpression of masculinity, which I'll call the patriarchy. So what do I teach that's so confrontational and destructive to the church or to like Buddhism? I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies, and I had to figure out on my own that enlightenment is an emotion. Well, Buddhism is mostly men. Emotional intimacy, emotions, that's feminine work. So again, did Buddhism take away feminine work? Just like the Christians did? So what is feminine work? Like, let's discuss, what is feminine value? What was so threatening about, like, you know, the Holy Grail, the search for the Holy Grail? Well, let's look at the Star of David. The Star of David is two triangles. One going up, representing the penis, and one going down, representing the uterus. The balance between men and women. That's the Star of David. That's the Holy Grail. That's like what we're all after here, is to find balance. Like, how do we get along and how do we value each other? You know? So 2,000 years ago, you know, it used to be that it was understood that women had value. Women were the high priestesses. Men went to women for sex, for healing, for creation, to breathe life, right? Like, life is created by opposites. Life is created when energy moves, when energy fluctuates. Stagnant energy is death. So how do you get energy to fluctuate? Well, you got opposites pulling on each other, poles, like shame at the bottom and enlightenment at the top in terms of emotions. Men and women, tall and short, beautiful and ugly. We're here to find balance together, you know? But how do we do that? We have to give credit to women for what is feminine value, and that's creation. Oh, wait. The Christians gave creation to a masculine God. Well, how are we going to, you know, How are we going to value feminine creation when our worldview is that creation belongs to a masculine God? And there's the devaluing of women. Because, I've told so many men, they don't know how to lead women. And that was true 2,000 years ago. They didn't know how to allow women to occupy the center of a relationship, to be the connection to source energy. Of course, they didn't have the knowledge that women's nervous systems are more robust than men's nervous systems, so we can handle that the intensity of source energy. Men are once removed from source energy. So that's why they take on more risk, but also why they more easily go out of balance and get into fight or flight, because they're literally out on a limb once removed from source energy. And I really resonate with the Cherokee proverb that says a woman's highest calling is to connect a man to his soul so he can unite with source energy. A man's highest calling is to protect a woman so she can walk the earth unharmed. But what does that mean? And why didn't the church see that 2,000 years ago? So we have the Native Americans understood balance between men and women, but why didn't the church? That's an open-ended question. Why didn't the church? I did a video yesterday about the exaltation of the Holy Cross, and they say the cross is the only way to get to heaven. I'm sorry, what are you talking about? What are you literally talking about? We're souls having a human experience, which the Native Americans knew. There's feminine souls, and there's masculine souls. Each have their role. Feminine souls are internal work, inside work. That this truth is mirrored all over the globe, that women do inside work. We got an innie, men got an outie. How much more obvious could it fucking be? And yeah, I'm coming out swinging. How the fuck else am I going to protect my man? Charlie Kirk just got assassinated. And you want Mary Magdalene and Jesus Christ souls to come out and say, oh, yeah, the church was wrong all along? Mary Magdalene knows how to connect to heaven, how to create heaven in her own heart without the church at all? You want to be that person? Fuck. You want to be the Mary Magdalene Da Vinci Code, and the Da Vinci Code is still focused on the 3D, on the physical world. People had awareness that the spiritual world, or God, source energy, is in control of the physical world. Now that's true. But I agree with Neil Donald Walsh. He wrote Conversations with God. What is God? God is is all of our souls together and our plan together. It has never been my experience that there is one being out there controlling everything and we're just down here going, please forgive me. No, we're each responsible for our own work. How true is the saying, no one is coming to save you? And now everyone's talking about the rapture starting next week on September 23rd, 2025. And here I am with this message. Okay, bitches, you thought he was coming? No one is coming to save you. We are here to work on the wound between men and women. Last fall, in November of 2024, experiencing enlightenment, I was shown how masculine and feminine souls are created. How the intent, the split from one soul that inhabited both feminine and masculine qualities into two so that we could see ourselves and expand more. Because we come here to see ourselves for self-improvement opportunities. So I was told the intent to create the masculine soul creates the feminine soul. Then the feminine soul tears out half of her heart chakra to create the masculine soul. And so women, we channel source energy. And why are women so prized, right? Why is the Holy Grail so prized, right? We channel source energy. Souls come through the woman into the womb to be born. So souls are attracted to the feminine line, not the bloodline, not the what's in the body, not like whose dad were you. That's not it. That's physicality. That's, men are physicality, women are emotionality, spirituality. And so the souls choose based on the woman. Okay. Like JC and I, like I've said in other videos, he's the head of global security at GoDaddy. You can look him up if you want. You know, he will always be the spiritual father to my children because he's the masculine soul counterbalanced to my feminine soul. So my children's souls came from my soul and his soul because they will always have that access. Now his kids, if he has kids, I don't know if he does, are not the same spiritually advanced as my children, because my children come to learn lessons and handle the intensity of my soul. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's a lot of value and a lot of, kind of power and influence that women have. So, men who don't understand how to embrace that power and that influence would then want to control it and repress it and suppress it and take the power away from the woman, away from the woman's womb, the healing. I mean, shamans know that like sexual healing, that's a real thing. The man ejaculates inside the woman. That's one way he gives her his emotional pain so she can help him process it. But if you have a church and men can go there to process their pain, they can just leave out the women, then they can, have more freedom to do whatever the fuck they want. And there's a lot of evidence now that narcissistic men seek out other men for emotional support. I mean, that's how it is in the red pill space. I used to call myself Red Pill Shaman. I've helped Andrew Tate, Justin Waller, 2 Fire Academy instructors, and JC is former FBI. It's right in there in red pill. And they have multiple women, and they never go to a woman for her advice or her feedback. They have their friends for that. Well, they go for breadth because they can't go for depth with a woman. Because one woman, she's going to hold you accountable. If you find like your counterbalance, that woman ain't taking any crap. She's going to hold accountable. And this whole, well, I'm going to go sleep with someone else thing, that ain't going to friggin' work. So we got to have women who aren't that invested into you, that are kind of like, okay, fine, you give me some money, so I'll do it, whatever. Who don't have that much value inside themselves, who will tolerate the breadth that you're going to have multiple women and use fear as a control mechanism. I mean, I've been in relationships with these men. They do not know how to lead women. Like Justin Waller, we got in an argument because I had a personal relationship with Justin. That's how I was able to help Andrew. And he just stopped talking to me for 4 days. I'm like, so you just walk away when I say there's an issue because I complained about something, and so the problem must be me. So there's no talking about problems. There's just ignoring and punishing problems. How the fuck are you going to get anywhere that way as an adult? Like, it's so immature. But these are, the multimillionaire men in charge of everything who, know how to make $1 million, but don't know how to lead a relationship. So, here I am, and like I'm really inspired by Charlie Kirk. And Charlie Kirk in July had a quote. He says, Mary is a solution, kind of ... to toxic feminism. Well, yeah. I figured out on my own without any kind of awareness of Mary Magdalene at all until 2025, really. I published my book, and later on I became aware of her after I published my book. And, self-love, proven by a lot of science, is the only way to have a better relationship with self. And our relationship with self is our relationship with the universe. Our souls plan our lives for self-improvement opportunities based on the collective plan. My soul's plan supports the collective plan. Each individual is responsible for their own healing. It is not possible for me or another soul to transform another person's wounds into wisdom. Only each individual soul is able to operate and control the own soul. I can't help JC change fear into self-belief. He couldn't help me do that. I couldn't force on him ideas of self-hate. His soul had to internalize that as part of his soul's plan. So, there's a lot of talk about the rapture next week. And so, the prophecy is that the Feast of Trumpets, the Rosh Hashanah, New Year in Judaism, which is next week, is when the Messiah is coming back. Well, who's the Messiah? And of course, he. What the fuck? Just assume it's a man. Assume it couldn't be a woman. It's like women are the channelers. Women are the spiritual ones. Women are intuitive. Intuition is right-brained. Creativity is right-brained. Forgiveness is right-brained. You go to Jesus for forgiveness, he's a man, but that's right-brained. Why are we taking away feminine value and putting it in an institution? Like women hate men? We just hadn't figured out how to be the healers yet, how to get along like that, and it wasn't the time for self-healing yet. That started in 2012 when the Mayan calendar, the time cycle ended in 2012. The new time cycle, it started as self-healing. So I'm going to share my struggles daily, with my videos so that we can go back and look about how hard this is, about coming out, it's like, my gratitude for Charlie is profound, is beyond profound, is universally profound. He protected his family. He protected conservative voices. I feel his soul around me all the time. It's very hard for me to say things, to quote Charlie and then say, self-love creates heaven on earth and not the cross. And I'm sure Christians will argue with me. But the path forward is individual enlightenment and not institutional enlightenment. Why? Because change is an inside job. Our external reality is a reflection of our internal reality. You have so many people talking about communism, like, hang on a second, that communism is the way. That's the utopia. I'm like, no. Communism is an external solution to an internal problem. That'll never fix it. That's what the church is. The church is an external solution to an internal problem. That ain't gonna fucking work. Now, churches do a lot of great things, and they can continue to do a lot of great things. But as long as they keep telling people, you have to go to Jesus and God, and that's the only path, and the cross is the only way. It's helping people. It is. It's getting people to pray and to emit love from their hearts. This is what we need. When people pray in positive ways with positive intent, they are emitting love from their heart, and that is self-love. So that's really helpful. All the vigils, all the non-violent vigils and the prayers, that is bringing light to everyone's soul. That is making our darkness conscious. Carl Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining beings of light, which is like communism, but by making their darkness conscious on an individual level. Because I can't force light into people's hearts. Light is born within. I had to forge my own fire, my own light through 35 years of debilitating lower back pain that ended on December 30th, 2020. And the Cathars prophesied the return of Mary Magdalene in 2021. My voice returned. My womb. I had reclaimed my womb. And that is Mary Magdalene, what they're talking about. The chalice, the Holy Grail, the womb. It was her womb that's a Holy Grail because it had Jesus' child in it. And of course, men are obsessed with bloodlines and kingdoms and stuff. I'm sure women are obsessed too. But that's not the Holy Grail. You know who the Holy Grail is? Is my soul. My daughters. My son. I mean, I'm sitting here in my fucking garage and not talking to anybody. I'm hiding in plain sight in Ventura, California. And I'm right here with the Chumash. And I'm a shaman that just came out of me naturally. I've had a little bit of training, but mostly it came out of me just naturally. And I had to learn that there's a reason I'm here in Ventura, California, to connect with the Chumash, to connect with this Native American wisdom, to help the Christians see the value in femininity and not repress it and control it, because they don't understand how to appreciate it and allow it and trust it and trust the process. So, there's a Chumash origin story here. And in the fall, in November of 2024, I was told that the Chumash have been preparing for the return of the divine feminine for 200 years. Now, I don't know Chumash history. I've never looked into it, even though it's strong here with the mission in Ventura and the Chumash that came off Santa Cruz Island. But I only know that recently from looking it up. And in the early 1820s, and we're now in 2025, early 1820s, they were moved off of Santa Cruz Island. And their story is that Hutash, the divine feminine, created a rainbow bridge, which is a bridge of light, because all the colors of the rainbow is what makes up light, and brought them to the mainland for expansion opportunities. Now, yes, it was the missionaries that did it, and yes, but all of our souls made that plan together. Okay, so if our souls are planning it, how are we victims? It's how we grow. You know, we hold wounds, we hold space for people's wounds. That's why Christ died. He died because people were wounded and didn't understand what he was saying. And they wanted to control him because he was exposing the darkness inside the temple with financial abuse. You know, let's all live in reality here and stop believing stories that just support their narrative that there's a masculine God controlling everything. I mean, how fucking much ego can we get? Women give birth. Women are intuitive. The Native Americans knew, right? So, you know, and I really connect to their origin story because my first hero in the book, he lives right on the edge of where Ventura and Santa Barbara County line are, which is where the mission is and where they brought the Chumash people. And 2 weeks before a huge fight that we had there, where I ran into him in this, you know, remote location where he lives, a week later, which freaked us both out, I went to Santa Cruz Island with my oldest daughter and went kayaking. And it was like 2 weeks later, you know, I kind of like, she brought me off my island. I had so much abuse as my child. I just felt isolated my whole life. And she helped me come off my island. That's how important she is. So I appreciate you listening. I hope you find value. If you want to know more about me, please read my book. I'm writing a second book. I'm updating my website to have documents about unveiling Mary Magdalene's soul, the Chumash story, and a psychologist who also really understands astrology and has done my chart, read my chart, and we're doing a 6-part series on me on his YouTube channel. So so thank you for joining, and I'll keep posting and sharing about the challenges I'm experiencing and bringing it to light that my soul is the same soul as Mary Magdalene. Take care.